A landlord is requiring all new tenants to be vaccinated. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it kind of goes into the whole pandemic issue and the vaccination issue. And, it's a pretty contentious topic, and there's a lot of disagreement going on with it right now. And, I was wondering how exactly the whole thing would be impacting landlords. So I dove deep before I did a video on a landlord in Miami. And what he was doing was he was saying, hey, I'm not going to renew the leases of anybody who's not vaccinated. And I'm going to require any new tenants to be vaccinated as well. And there was a lot of questions because the state of Florida actually has a thing that says basically you cannot mandate the vaccine. And so there were a lot of questions of what was the legality of this, So I believe that there's still litigation going on in that case. But this is a completely different case that's going on now. And this is actually not even happening in the United States. It's happening in Canada. But it does relate to what's going on here in the U.S. That's why I wanted to bring it up. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good idea for landlords to try to impose, the vaccination onto their tenants? I'll tell you right now, I don't. Okay, I think it's bad for business. Okay, I don't want to exclude tenants from my properties based upon their personal medical decisions. Okay, if they want to be vaccinated, so be it. If they don't, so be it. But it is not any of my business to tell my tenants what they should or should not do with their bodies. Okay, and at the same time, I am not going to put another not put a perfectly qualified tenant into one of my units just because they didn't get vaccinated. I mean, if they suffer medical consequences because of not getting vaccinated or because of getting vaccinated, that is their issue. That is not my issue. Okay? So, that's my personal opinion, but let's see what this article says about the situation. It's coming from airdrytoday.com, and it says, apartment building owner hopes to set precedent with vaccine requirement. And it's by the Canadian Press. Okay, so let's see what they're doing up in Canada. Calgary. An Alberta-based rental housing provider says it hopes to set a precedent with its decision to require proof of COVID-19 vaccination from new tenants. Strategic Group, which owns more than 1,500 one- and two-bedroom suites in rental apartment buildings in Edmonton and Calgary, says it believes it is the first major landlord in Canada to implement a vaccine requirement for new tenants. We're proud of it, very proud of it, and we'd like to see other landlords implement the same policy, said Chief Operating Officer Tracy Stimmen. It will help to end this pandemic. Well, I have to disagree. Okay, I mean, I don't think that vaccine requirements are going to help to end the pandemic. At this point, from what I've read, the virus is endemic, which means it's never disappearing. It's just going to be like the flu. We're going to have a seasonal thing where people are getting sick and some people are not. And as you can tell right now, people who are vaccinated are still getting sick. People who are vaccinated are still able to pass the virus on. And that's exactly what's happening. And, the director of the CDC came out and said it. So if you think that merely making sure that everyone is vaccinated is going to end the pandemic, that is just not the case, okay? It's going to take something more than that, okay? And if we're keeping that in mind, then why are you basically hurting your own business by cutting off a huge number of potential customers, okay? Now, I know obviously in a place like Canada, their vaccination rates are much higher than they are here in the United States. But even if it's just 10% of the population up there who decided they didn't want to get vaccinated, well, if 1 out of every 10 of your prospective tenants, came up and, you couldn't rent to them, well, that might make it a little bit harder to fill your units, okay? And at the same time, it doesn't hurt you to take these tenants in your property who are not vaccinated. You're not going to encourage, at this point, you're not going to encourage anyone to go get the vaccination by saying, hey, we're not going to rent to you. And what you're really doing is you're creating like a second class of citizen, like, well, these people here, they can't rent apartments, they can't work at any jobs, they can't, go into any businesses. They're just kind of, living in the lower slums, and, we just throw them scraps every once in a while. Why would we as people want to create, two classes of society? That's my personal opinion. But, when it comes to being a landlord and all of that, you can at least look at it from the profit perspective, and don't disqualify a percentage of your tenants just based upon, your fake belief that this is somehow going to end this pandemic when all of the science, all of the evidence says otherwise. Since the COVID-19 vaccine became widely available earlier this year, there have been a handful of reported instances of small landlords requiring proof of vaccination from tenants, usually in cases of basement suites in detached homes where the landlord lives upstairs. But as a large-scale real estate company and property manager with multiple buildings in its portfolio, Strategic Group appears to be unique in the stand it is taking. In addition to requiring proof of vaccination from anyone touring a suite or moving into a building, the company will also require existing tenants to be fully vaccinated to access common areas like fitness facilities and party rooms. Oh, what a joke, okay? Existing tenants have to be vaccinated to go to the fitness center? Why? I mean, come on. These people, when they moved in, they didn't know that they were signing over their medical lives to the landlords, okay? Talk about a joke. I mean, this frustrates me. Okay, and I'm going to point out at a landlord is going too far right now, because this is ridiculous. And I'm glad this isn't happening in the U.S. because I don't even think this would be constitutional, okay? I think this would be an unlawful thing that they're trying to do. And if I was a competitor of this sitting up in Canada right now, you know what I would do, right? I'd be like, hey, we don't require vaccines over here. Move out, move into my place instead. We'll take you. I mean, that's how this stuff has to be. Like these people, they deserve to get a smackdown from their competitors, because they're making decisions that have nothing to do with business and instead have to do with their personal beliefs. And that's blows my mind that any business would even try to operate like that. We've had really good feedback from our tenants, Stimmons said. We just heard from one who said, and I'll quote it, as someone who's lost family members to COVID in the past year, it's refreshing to see a company invest in the well-being of the community. Many Canadian employers implemented vaccine mandates for employees over the summer, with the emerging legal consensus being that it is okay to do so as long as those with a legitimate reason for not taking the shot are accommodated. While the legality of tying housing to someone's vaccination status remains somewhat open to interpretation, experts say it is likely similar to the workplace issue. New rental agreements are covered by human rights legislation, which says that landlords cannot discriminate on prohibited grounds such as race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or disability. Yeah, there's two things going on here. There's things that are, legal that people are doing that are still wrong to do, okay? So, in my opinion, it is wrong to discriminate against someone based upon their vaccination status, okay? I just will not agree to that. I don't agree with the landlord saying, hey, you can't even go into the fitness center. The one that you're paying for, like with your rent money is going to pay for this fitness center that you can't use now. I mean, give me a break. This situation is very, very frustrating. There's a lot of stuff that happened with this whole pandemic, with, the eviction moratoriums, with, just the craziness that happened. All of the stimulus money that's causing just crazy amounts of inflation now. And now we have, just private businesses that are trying to force people into getting a vaccination, or to create a second class of people who they just want to cast away and cast to the side. I'm just not for it, okay? I don't approve of this. I don't think it's right. And I hope that other landlords do not follow in the footsteps of these people here, okay?